Bengal Delta Management in Light of Climate Change, Bangladesh Perspectives. So in the latest IPCC report, we have seen that they have mentioned that delta communities will face severe disruption by 2100 and as early as 2050. In many cases, this is a very high confidence scenario, and as they have mentioned that deltas will get mostly impacted. So we thought that as Bangladesh is one of the largest deltas in the world, so we should get some ideas about the impact that we are currently facing as well as the future scenarios. So let me give a brief about the Bengal Delta. So it's one of the largest deltas in the world. It's located between the foothills of the eastern Himalayas and the northern shores of the Bay of Bengal, covering the region of South Asia, consisting of Bangladesh and the Indian state of West Bengal. This delta is mainly formed by the sediments carried by the Ganges from Brahmaputra and Meghna rivers, and it nearly drains all of the Himalayas, the world's most sediment-producing mountains, through the Ganges, Brahmaputra, and Meghna river system. So here you can see the map that the most of the Bangladesh falls in this delta, and except the hill tracts in Sylhet, Chittagong, and some of the northern area. So this deltaic area will suffer like the rest of the country, but as I've already mentioned, that according to the projections, coastal areas are one of the most vulnerable to the climate change impacts, and in this regard, our Bangladesh portion of the delta will also be one of the most vulnerable regions in the country. So in today's discussion, we are mainly focusing on the coastal belt and the impacts on what the coastal belt might face. So in Bangladesh, we can see that these are some of the major climate change hazards that we are facing, or in future we are very likely to face. So there's definitely cyclone, which is the most prominent one. We have seen that over the past few years, cyclone frequency and intensity has increased, and these are hitting the country often. And then there's salinity. We are facing salinity problem. This is due to the cyclone and storm surge. Also, the tidal flows have increased over the years, and there's a freshwater scarcity, which is also enhancing this problem. And erratic rainfall pattern is also impacting for the increased salinity issue. Then there's storm surge, drought, and drought-like condition. This is also caused by the erratic rainfall pattern and the excessive use of water due to shortage. And there is and another issue that we are facing is short duration heavy rainfall, which is quite opposite from the drought-like situation. So in some areas of the country, we are facing heavy rainfall for a short time, which is causing waterlogging like scenarios and hampering agriculture and regular life. And also in winter, we are facing excessive fog, which is causing harm to the seed beds, and agriculture and food security is getting hampered. And there's riverbank erosion and coastal erosion, which is causing severe damage to our livelihoods and assets. And there is definitely flood, which is the most common disaster in the country. And due to climate change, flood is also increasing and impacting more. And there is a sea level rise, and thunderstorm and health risk. So we have seen that thunderstorm is also increasing in the country, especially in the Howrah area. This frequency and it has increased, and we have seen many death cases over the past few years. And another issue that has been impacting Bangladesh, which is health risk, due to all of this hazards that I have already mentioned. Health is getting impacted due to the changing weathers, increased temperature, due to degraded quality of water, and also due to malnutrition, as food security is mainly getting impacted due to the climate change hazard. So health risk is also getting prominent over the years. Also, we have seen that vector-borne diseases are increasing, especially like diseases like dengue. hence we need to focus in this issue as well. So if this map shows different areas which are more severe in terms of diseases. So we can see that the northwestern portion of the Bangladesh is more prone to drought and drought-like scenario. The central portion is mainly suffering through flood and drought and river erosion. The Sunamganj area or the northeastern portion is mainly known for flash flood, and the western part of the country is mainly suffering from storm surge and cyclone and salinity. And so in our discussion, we will cover only the major hazards that are causing climate change impacts in Bangladesh. So let us start with the storm surge. So storm surge is one of the major concerns for our country, as a cyclone is increasing. Also, the height of the storm surge is also increasing, and rapid growth indicates more intense storm surge. So as IPCC has projected that if rapid development occurs, then it will be difficult for us to reduce the climate change impact, as mitigation will not be enough to reduce these challenges. So if we cannot control properly, there's a high chance that this storm surge will get even worse in the future. It might happen that Bangladesh may experience Category 5 cyclone, which the country has not experienced so far. So from this slide, we can see that from the previous analysis, increasing intensity of cyclones due to climate change. So over the last 30 years, we have seen 10 cyclones, 11 cyclones in 100 years from 1876 to 1977. And areas vulnerable to inundation more than 1 meter to 3 meter would be 14% to 69%. And 10-year return period cyclone will be more intense, covering 43% of the vulnerable area, 17% more than current coverage. And coastal embankments, afforestation, evacuation through 10,000 volunteers, warning, dissemination, etc., using for cyclone and storm surge management. So we are doing our best to recover from this scenario, but we might need more as the disaster is getting worse every year. Then we have observed sea level rise in Bangladesh. So in the coastal area, in the western coast, we have seen that 7 to 8 millimeter sea level rise per year. In the central area, we have seen 6 to 9 millimeter per year, and in the southeastern zone, which is the Chittagong and Cox's Bazar areas, we have seen 11 to 20 millimeter per year sea level rise. So this is also an alarming issue. So overall trend is 6 to 20 millimeter per year. So projection of sea level rise in the Bay of Bengal. So we can see from the IPCC AR6 report that sea level rise has already increased by 20 centimeter in Bay of Bengal and will increase an additional 30 centimeter to 1 meter and or even more by 2100, depending on future emission. For high shared economic pathway, SSP 5 to 8.5, sea level at Huron Point of Bay of Bengal is projected to increase 0.25 meter by 2050 and 0.65 meter by 2080 and 0.9 meter by 2100. So it's definitely alarming for us if we don't take enough measures. Then we have tidal wave, which is very much related to the sea level rise. So we have already seen evidence that Chattogram city suffers from high tide, especially the downtown business areas like Agrabad. We have seen that people are suffering and roads have been blocked for days due to this high tidal wave. Normal tidal wave also be higher in the coastal areas. This will also impact the salinity level, and it will ultimately impact the drinking water as it will degrade the quality both of the surface and groundwater. Also, agriculture sector will be impacted as salinity will hamper both crop production and livestock and fisheries. And also, health sector will suffer as as people will suffer from different health-related issues, especially waterborne diseases and diseases due to malnutrition. And there is another hazard, which is erosion and accretion. So in the coastal area, we all know that land erosion and accretion are taking place at different rates, but we are when we are planning for any intervention, we cannot plan accordingly due to this uncertainty. So this will ultimately impact the coastal ecosystem, habitats, tourism, lives, and properties of people. And another issue that is contributing us, which is internal migration or internal displacement. The topics that I've discussed so far is impacting mainly people's livelihood and assets. So also it's degrading the soil quality, water quality, and creating impacts on food security. So ultimately, people are forced to go to new places with better livelihood opportunities and better living standards. So this is also an alarming issue that we are going to face if climate change is going to impact us at current rate. And also our ecosystem is getting impacted very much. Afforestation in newly affected land is prioritized, but we are seeing that due to the increased climate change impact, these afforestations are also not working properly. We are facing challenges to sustain these interventions. Also, our natural habitat of fish and different marine creatures are getting hampered due to the increased ocean acidification and other concerns, especially the temperature rise and erratic pattern of rainfall is hampering the environment, especially the animals and birds from the Sundarbans areas and other coastal forests are also facing challenges due to the changing in temperature. And fish habitat is one of the major source of income in the coastal area, as most of the people there are fishermen and dependent on the marine resources. So climate change, due to climate change, we are seeing that there's changes in tidal circulation. Also, this is shifting the coastlines and submerging different islands. And we can see that it is also causing a change in fish productivity. So we need more improved monitoring for sustainable management and conservation of marine species if we want to address this issue. And another issue that is that we want to highlight is freshwater scarcity. As I've already mentioned, that climate change is impacting both the surface and groundwater. So as freshwater is very important for drinking purposes and agriculture as well. So the main source of freshwater in the delta portion of Bangladesh is the Ganges and its distributaries. And due to climate change, we are seeing that there is reduced annual runoff and reduced aquifer recharge, and which is ultimately causing decreased water quality at the source. Also, the increased salinity is also creating pressure in the freshwater resources of the Ganges Delta, especially in the coastal region, which is ultimately increasing vulnerabilities of the communities living in this area and impacting our socioeconomic development. And so we can see from this projection that drought, dry periods and drought-like situations are more likely to occur in the future if if the climate change impacts are continuing. So we can see from the maps that the existing situation, the amount of severe drought is the amount of severe drought that we're facing in the existing years might rise very high in 2075 with additional drought-prone areas. Which from the maps we can see that mainly the northern, northwestern, and the western portion is facing drought, but in 2075, the central portion of is also and very likely to face a drought and more dry periods. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and I would now give floor to our esteemed panelists to discuss on the issues and what we can do to manage these problems and what can be our adaptation strategies to cope up with the future problems effectively. So at the beginning, I would like to give floor to Dr. Reza Rahman sir to share his insight. Sir, please.
Okay, thank you, Oishi. And thank you for inviting me to this panel session. This is very important, especially in the light of IPCC 6 findings. So Bangladesh is usually known as very vulnerable, highly vulnerable to climate change impacts, especially to sea level rise. But fortunately, recent research findings, many of the research have been done by my colleagues at the Institute of Water and Flood Management of BUET. And from their research findings, I find much hope. And I see that we are not as vulnerable as we are projected to be. So some of the research findings I'll be very happy to share with you. One of the most recent research findings, which has been published in Science of Total Environment. So in that research, it has been found that the sedimentation rate in the Ganges Delta is high, as you have also mentioned in your presentation, that it is high because it flows, our catchment covers the Himalayan region, which is relatively new. So there is much sediment loads through the rivers. So this sedimentation rate at the coast will be is around 5.5 to 7.5 millimeter per year. Now the projected sea level rise is around 5 millimeter per year. So this is very hopeful sign that we have a natural defense. That is our sedimentation rate will be able to keep us above the sea level rise. So this is a natural defense. And you have also mentioned about the afforestation. Bangladesh has done very well, I shall say, in mangrove afforestation over last 20, 30 years. So this afforestation is also a very good defense against cyclone and also against sea level rise, in the sense that the afforestation helps in rebuilding the soil and building up the land. So this is another natural defense against climate change and sea level rise. And then we have a man-made defense. We have polders, 137 polders in the coast, thousands of kilometers of embankments. So this is a good defense against sea level rise. We'll not be inundated if we can keep these polders in proper shape. Of course, maintenance is a problematic, we know. But again, in our research, our colleagues have shown that if we maintain the polders well, and even at the same height, without increasing the height in anticipation of sea level rise, we can protect our lands from inundation for at least next 50 years. And then we may need to raise the polder heights. But right now, we don't need to raise the polder heights. We just need to maintain it properly. So this is again this is a man-made defense. So we have natural defenses, we have man-made defenses. So these are the good signs, and these are now coming through the researches. And then, but the main problem of sea level rise and the climate change will be salinity. We have no defense, either natural or man-made defense against salinity. So we have to adapt to that salinity. Our agriculture is very vulnerable to this rise of salinity. But again, we see hopeful signs. The farmers are adapting to this salinity change. They are going to different types of crops which are more salinity tolerant, like watermelon. And they are shifting to aquaculture from agriculture. So aquaculture are more climate resilient. So these are happening, and farmers are quickly adapting. And they are also adapting through multiple cropping, integrated cropping. In a shrimp pond, they are producing shrimps in one season, rice in another season. They are producing vegetables around the periphery of the plots, their plots. So this multiple cropping is also very profitable and more climate resilient. So this is also becoming very popular. So this is also one example of how quickly our farmers can cope and adapt to climate change situations. But of course, they need government support, and government is providing, I know, lots of support, but of course there is always a scope for improvements. But I shall say in adaptation also, especially in agriculture, I see many examples of successful adaptation. So with that note, positive note, I think that Bangladesh is less vulnerable than what we thought earlier. So Bangladesh will continue to do well, I think, and we shall overcome this problem of climate change and sea level rise, like we have overcome many problems in the past. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your positive answers, because when we discuss on climate change impacts, we only hear negative stuff, that we are very vulnerable and we don't have very much hope to cope with. But from your speech, we can definitely have some spirit and move forward with some positive ideas. And definitely thank you so much for focusing on the positive issues that our country has done so far, and giving us suggestions on how we can improve in the future as well. So next, I would like to invite Mr. Dharitri Kumar Sarkar, Deputy Secretary, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, to discuss on one of the major issues that Reza Rahman sir has already mentioned, which is coastal afforestation. So we know that recently government has taken several projects to address this important issue, and there are many ongoing and future plans for coastal afforestation. So we would like to know about the government's perspective regarding this issue. Mr. Dharitri Kumar Sarkar, please.
At first, I thank you, Oishi, for giving me the floor. And I also want to throw my gratitude to the organizers for selecting me as a panelist. Oishi has given a very good presentation, and when she was telling about the issues, I was fully engrossed in her deliberations, because it was like a music actually. And she has touched a lot of things about the coastal areas, what we shall face and what we need to do. And what we are doing also. And at first, I want to just pinpoint one thing. In the coastal afforestation, regarding the coastal afforestation, Bangladesh is the first in the world to do the coastal afforestation in the shorelands of the coastal areas. This is a good information, obviously, for all of us in Bangladesh. And we know we have the natural mangrove forest Sundarban, and beside that, Bangladesh is doing the afforestation in the coastal areas since 1965. And we know generally that the Coxbazar is our coastal area, which is very much vulnerable. But beside that, we also have Noakhali, Lokhipur, Bhola, Potuakhali, Borgona, these sort of coastal districts. And we have 19 coastal districts. And throughout these districts, Bangladesh doing the coastal afforestation since 1965. And since then, so far, Bangladesh has done the 200,000 hectares of land under coastal afforestation. With you also, I also emphasize on the coastal afforestation, and Bangladesh government is very much agile in this initiative. Just now, I want to go back from this side of discussion. And we know Bangladesh is the innocent victim of the climate change. We emit very less, but we are obviously compelled to face the natural disasters which will come by climate change issues. And for this reason, Bangladesh is doing a lot of initiatives for the adaptation and mitigation also. Besides taking the mitigation initiatives, Bangladesh is doing its adaptation. In 2005, Bangladesh prepared the National Adaptation Program of Action, NAPA. After that, in 2009, Bangladesh prepared the Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan. And with that, Bangladesh established a Climate Change Trust Fund in 2009. And since then, through its own resources, through the own resources of Bangladesh, the Climate Change Trust Fund so far has taken around 800 projects for adaptation and mitigation, and among those, around 450 had been already completed, and others are under the process. And in this initiative, Bangladesh has spent around $450 million for these projects. So, and now Bangladesh is preparing the National Adaptation Plan. And Bangladesh has submitted the nationally determined contribution NDC on the 26th August of 2021. And you are telling about the Howard areas, Barind areas, and the other coastal areas of different areas of Bangladesh. We know the vulnerability of different areas of Bangladesh is different. So during the NAP preparation, we are taking the views from the local consultations in the different parts of the country. This is obvious, and this is very much true. And we also know very well that the things which will happen in the people of Howard areas know how to adapt in the disasters in the Howard areas. The people living in the coastal belt, they knows better how to adapt with the disasters in their areas. So during our NAP preparation, we are taking the comments from the people of different areas of the country. So I think this will be a whole of society approach and leaving no one behind. So I think the measures which we need to take in future for different areas that will come and will be included in our National Adaptation Plan. So another thing you are telling about the ecosystem. It is very much sure that if the climate change happens, if the salinity comes, our ecosystem will be very hurt or disrupted also. And I also want to underscore the need of ecosystem assessment or ecosystem delivery, and I want to emphasize on the quantification of the ecosystem services, how much we get from different ecosystems in different areas, and how the people of that area are depend on their ecosystems. So if we can assess or we can quantify the ecosystem delivery, then we will be in a very good position to mend it or minimize it or to recover it. And you are telling about the internal displacement of the people. it is a very grave concern from Bangladesh also. If you think about the coastal belt of Coxbazar area, or you can think about the Shamnagar area or Satkira district. So it is very obvious that people are being when any disasters are happening, people are leaving their livelihood. People are not getting other ways, so they are heading to Joshore or Dhaka or Chittagong or nearer districts. At the same time, they are losing their livelihood and their shelter, and at the same time they are keeping or creating burden on the cities of the country. So we obviously need to give emphasis on these issues, and I want to inform you that the Ministry of Disaster Management and Relief, with the help of IOM, they have prepared a strategy for the internal displacement, and now they are on the way to make an action plan on this. And one thing I want to add, for this climate affected people in our Khurushkul area of the Coxbazar, there Bangladesh has prepared the cyclone shelters, and it is the largest cyclone shelter in the world for the climate victims. So I think our this sort of preparation and this sort of initiative will give us a good way to be in a good position from the effect of climate change, which we are facing now and which we will face in future. Oishi, now I want to stop here. If anything requires or need, then I will add next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Goitri sir, for your excellent deliverable. So from your speech, we can definitely understand that the government is doing its best to address the climate change issue, and we are doing great so far, and we are much aware than previous time regarding the climate change, and we are definitely going to work more on this issue. So next we are moving to Professor Mahbooba Nasreen. We want to know about the gender perspectives of the climate change impact and what we need to focus on to make the climate change initiatives more gender inclusive. Ma'am, please.
Thank you very much, Rishi, and the panelists and organizers for giving me the space. And I have been listening to your wonderful deliberations, as well as Professor Dr. Rizal Rahman and Mr. Dhariti Kumar Sarkar. So as of them, I am also very much positive about Bangladesh's, I should say that resilience, that word we are using most frequently now, but at the beginning we have been using coping, then we moved to the word adaptation, and then now we are talking about resilience. And you all know that despite being a climate vulnerable country and also the most disaster prone or one of the most disaster prone countries around the world, Bangladesh is doing better in context of disaster management. That is also focused by the UN Secretary General and Government of India and other, that we have been recognized as a disaster resilience country, and also our people should be thankful for that. So without any such policy, or without not having I should say that like IPCC kind of body, or not having any Bangladesh climate change adaptation and action strategies, and also not having any before 1997, I should say that we didn't have any such institutional body to have institutional mechanisms or to deal with or support people to combat or to fight or to survive with disaster. So that is what I should my positive side here. And you know that there are so many in the standing orders on disasters in 1997. We have seen for the first time that who will play what role when a disaster strikes. Then also we have seen in 2010 revised, and then we get before that in 2009 we get Bangladesh Climate Change Strategy and Action Plan, and there are also second pillar was on comprehensive disaster management. So, and you know that there is a change in the revised policy 2019 that we are thinking more inclusive. And as you raised the question about the gender dimension, that we have been working specifically, I can refer me because I have been working over the last 3 decades on gender dimension to disaster and climate change. And you know that there is a climate change gender action plan since 2013 in Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And we developed gender toolkit for Ministry of Women and Children Affairs. In the National Women's Policy, for the first time in 2011, revised policy that is added a section called Women and Children in Disaster. So we, before that, there were disasters and there were climate change too, only that we haven't referred until late 80s about the changes of climate. In fact, in this part of the world, I should say, climate change was not that was not that much emphasized, but the disasters were there. So I see there is a nexus and interface, and I see specifically, if you saw the people who have been listening here, they all know that there is a paradigm shift. We wanted to combat, or we wanted to control the disaster, but it's not possible. Specifically, you cannot give structural solution to the Bengal Delta, because we have Delta Plan and 2000 goals also mentioned that our delta is a fashioning delta. So if we would like to control anywhere, or we construct or give a structural solution, that will not bring a solution, rather that will hamper to other areas. That we have seen since the Meghna Dhanagana project, if you can say that there are flood control drainage, and there were, before Bangladesh was born, there were flood control drainage and flood control drainage and irrigation projects. So in 1987 and 88 floods, all those projects were identified as faulty constructions. So because those were being made without knowing the nature of the delta of Bangladesh, the delta is Bangladesh is not a solution for a French engineering team. Not even that we are saying that delta of Netherlands. So it's a very different kind of delta, and you have to live with it, and you have to understand the nature of this delta. So in context of gender dimension, I must say that when I started doing my PhD dissertation in 1991, we didn't know that what kind of theory that we are going to have. Specifically me, I don't have any theory. So the grounded theory was built, that is the people's indigenous or long-term experience which are supporting them to cope or to adjust or to survive with disaster. And that time adaptation or resilience were not, those words were not being used properly or not frequently. So the theory that from my dissertation in this region, I should say in the South Asian region, that is women's home-based activities or home-based their mechanisms that is supporting the disaster coping. Specifically, without any external assistance, it would be mere coping. It's not resilient. But now we are moving to adaptation and to moving to the resilience mechanism. And who are the resilient? Who are helping us in doing such resilient, in building such resilient nation? It's the women and men in Bangladesh. So gender dimension not only saying for women, but also men. Those who are facing the challenges of climate change, they are mostly living in the hazardous that you showed in the map and the climate vulnerable areas. Specifically, you pointed out, Oishi, about the cyclone. Yes, the most devastating cyclones that Bangladesh and this region, South Asian region, facing frequently due to its the regional location or the geographical location. So in that context also, we have many gender dimensions. Specifically, water security. Delta is about water, and we know that water is very much part of our life. And if there is a shortage of water, that also people are suffering from that, but women are much more suffering because they have to be tied up with their gender related work, because it's giving or providing water to family members are women's gender assigned job. Even when the flood water or cyclonic water is receding, it will be women who will collect water, and a long way they are, due to climate change, they have to work long. Due to flood, they have to chase through high water. So that's the point that we have to look after. We are doing research on this, and with Oxford, we are doing rich water security for the poor. Professor Reza Rahman is also involved there. That is completely on water related, SDG Goal 6. And another, we are doing gender and gender responsive resilience in policy and practices. So here comes the policy and practices. So what we get in the, because I am in the academic level, most of our part is related to students and also the policy briefs for the government. So we try to do that. So first goal, if you look at that, eliminate extreme poverty by 2030. Why extreme poverty? Because the poor in the highly stratified society, the poor people suffer most. The women, the most marginalized, women are the poorest of the poor. There is a feminist theory on that. But even a woman who is belong to a marginalized community, who is belong to a minority community, ethnic minority or other minority community, who is persons with disability, women with disability suffer more, 2 times more than a man in this kind of, having in this kind of characteristics. So that's why the extreme poverty by 2030, our Delta plan has given, and also achieve upper middle income status by 2030, and being a prosperous country beyond 2041. That's the vision of government of Bangladesh, that we have to have a 4th industrial revolution kind of country in 2041. So Bangladesh Delta Plan's specific goal is ensuring like safety from floods and climate change related disasters. That is Delta Plan focusing, and we are working on Delta Plan's goal 2 and SDG goal 6. So enhance water security and efficiency of water usages. So if you would like to enhance water security and efficiency, so you have to give emphasis who are mostly dealing with water. Is policymakers, is technicians, and also they are the people who are working at the household level. So water security is one of the major goal, I think goal 2 of Delta Plan. And there are other issues. You know that we are having a river as a living entity, and there is a river treaty, you know, in Bangladesh, and there's all are related to sustainable and integrated river systems, storage management. So Delta Plan is also focusing that, And as mentioned by Professor Rizal Rahman and later on by Dharitri, Mr. Dharitri Kumar Sarkar, that is develop effective conserve and preserve wetlands and ecosystems and promote their wise use. So what are the wise use? Sundarban is wisely used over the last 10 years. After the cyclone, we used to clean the forest, but now we are not doing that because Bangladesh government said, okay, after the cyclone, you have to leave the Sundarban as it is. You don't need to collect the twigs and branches which are broken. So give this natural coverage is very, very important. Many people do not talk about it, but we find this is very useful because naturally that is growing or giving the former shape. Those who were destroyed, they are giving back their lives in that context. And community forestry is very, very afforestation. Is not a plantation. So plantation and forestry is different. I think Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, they understand very well. And also the experts and those who have been listening today. So that's effective institutions and equitable governments. So if we do that, it's not only within Bangladesh, but we have to do the transboundary water resource management. In context of gender dimension and equitable access, we also find there is a problem in this context. So if we can have achieved the Delta 2020 goals, and that is also we are preferring 2100 goals, that we are connecting with our academic institutions, because we have to achieve optimal and integrated use of land and water resources. Without this, our education is also nothing. So I think I'm taking much more time, but we are doing some of the in Institute of Water and Flood Management, BUET, and Institute of Disaster Management and Vulnerability Studies. We are trying to integrate like technological part, hydrological channel challenges, and water technologies adaptation issues from gender perspective. From our side, what we would like to do, like we are examining the perception, choices, and gender-based vulnerabilities as well as adaptations. From the very beginning in Bangladesh, we are saying that women are not vulnerable. They are the silent force of resilience, silent forces of resilience. So they are adapting, they have to adapt with they are adapting with the water technologies. But if you give water technology without taking their visions, without considering the gender dimension and inclusive dimension, then you cannot do anything that will be safe for that Delta Plan's objectives, like a close link between water technology and climate change adaptation and resilience have to be there. And you have to use the multi-hazard lens. One area, specifically cyclone-prone area, having water salinity intrusion, having arsenic contamination, at the same time cyclone, and other human-induced disasters, specifically climate change-related disasters. So many technologies that we are doing. So we are trying to lend policy recommendations towards achieving like gender-friendly, innovative water technology, towards achieving resilience as well as achieving the sustainable development goal and also the Delta Plan that we are planning to have. So these are from my side. Specifically, I would like to have some questions and queries if you think I should give. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your very nice presentation. We have learned a lot from you. So I'm thanking all of the three panelists today for their excellent presentation and giving us knowledge about three different areas. But all we have seen so far that Bangladesh is doing very great, and we have very good potential to overcome the challenges that climate change is posing on us. So now I am opening the floor for questions. So this will be a short question answer session. So please, I would first request to the participants if they have any questions. Then we will move to our panelists. So please, you can raise your hands or ask us questions in the chat box as well. I can see Mr. Dhorichikma Sarkar has raised his hand. Sir, please.
Thank you. I just want to place a question to Mahbooba Nasrin, madam. Madam, actually, I am working in the government, and now I am in the environment ministry. But before that, I was in the disaster management ministry. Question is just like the pinpoint for the Satkira area or the hill area, we can tell the water collection, fresh water collection is very hazardous for the women of these areas. So we need to if we put the sweet water ponds or any other ways so that they can get the drinking water near their hand. What is the problem in the coastal areas like Cox's Bazar for the women? What are the problem, and what policy or what initiative we can take for those women of this area?
Thank you. I think you know about the Chittagong development project. There was the Chittagong Hill Tracks development project, and Cox's Bazar was not a part of that project. So there were some solutions, specifically where women are collecting water from the jiris, like the water layer is going down and those natural fountains are not coming. So there were so many like technology, home-based technologies were there. So specifically because groundwater is not possible to extract even in those areas. So in Cox's Bazar, it's not my suggestion, but it was from different studies that women, they have to work long. So community-based water collection, some vending systems that will be door-to-door delivery for them is they wanted, because they during the cyclone prone areas it is not possible that they collect water during cyclone or even store many places. So those Cox's Bazar is the part of it's not that much that we focus like Bandarban, Khagrachuri and Rangamati. It is different. So Cox's Bazar has many options. Government supply up to those areas where they have the government supply. But vending system, we have seen some women having their business because she is supplying water to door, and those women are purchasing. So here, one of these, if it's a community base, for example, I can refer one of the pro-poor study that we have done in 2005 for UNICEF, long time ago. So it is supplying is also difficult for many organizations. So it's ownership, like if they would like to purchase, they would like to use a water technology which is friendly to that location, they have to give even 10 taka that at that time. So if they have ownership, then they will maintain this water point. So it is that they want tubers at that time, tubers. So it's before arsenic, but they would like to, they will not pay. So user pay was also willingness to pay at that time, but it didn't work. But I think now people are ready to pay, but we have to give the technology to them, the friendly technology. So they are ready to pay. They do not want to suffer from water shortages. So I think it is
thank you
in a nutshell. Yeah.
Do we have more questions? So there's, I'm seeing Ishtiaq Ibneru, please.
Thank you so much for giving me the floor, and thank you every panelist for such a nice presentation. So my question is to every panelist that if we want to include youth in policy development, so what could be the process or what could be the future for them? Thank you.
So may I request Mr. Dhoitri Kumar Sarkar, as you are from the government, so can you please answer his question?
Actually, if you repeat the question, this then it will be helpful for me actually.
Okay, sorry. Yes, sir. So my question is, sir, as youth is the future, and government are working for the sustainable future for everyone. So my question is, how youth can be included in the policy development process?
Will you tell me? Actually, I was not listening to his sound was very low.
Oh, okay. So he's asking that how we can include more youths in the policy development process, or what are their scopes to get involved?
Oh, more youths.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Istiak. This is a very nice question. Actually, the whole world is now looking to the youths. And in the global conference of the climate change in Scotland, then I have heard that one youth group, they are telling that for which people you are doing these plans. The answer is for the youth. Then, but the youth, they are telling that, but when you are doing the meetings in the rooms, we are nowhere. You have not taken any representative from us. Then you are planning for us, but you are not taking us in your planning process. So obviously, we need to include the youths in our planning process, and we need to hear from them what their expectation, what problem they are facing, and then we need to prepare what we need to address the problems or the future of those youths. And you know, when the government of Bangladesh is now preparing any documents now, government is listening to the people from all strata of life. And in this planning process, the geographical location is getting the importance. At the same time, the youths, the women, girls, and the people with special needs, they are also getting the specific importance. So in this process, when Bangladesh is preparing anything, Bangladesh is including the inputs or comments or the expectations. I think I want to tell the expectations of the youths in our planning process. Our motto is our everything will be whole of society approach, and at the same time leaving no one behind. So obviously the youths are included in all our plans and programs and all the activities also. Thank you, Esther.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dhoitri Kumar Sarkar. And now we have another hand from our audience, Asana person. Please ask your question.
Thank you so much, Aishi, and good afternoon from AIT, Thailand. Actually, I have no question, but I want to say some opinions from my side based on your presentations and based on the panelist discussions. So I'm an independent researcher, and I have some observation from the Delta research. I am doing the research on the Delta, and my research area is Noakhali. And from the all discussions, and I had only one time Noakhali from Mr. Sarkar for afforestation program, and because it's the less important and less focused research area, I think. So I just want to give some opinions from my research as well. So the afforestation, I think Professor Dr. Rizal Korim sir said that SLR, due to the SLR perspectives, we always focused as more vulnerable, and our land is reducing. But in my study, I have also found that in land cover change analysis in the Noakhali area, that land area is increasing, and it's similar to that publications that focus on published in Nature's. And other thing is that the agricultural land is converting to aquaculture in that area, and peoples are changing their cropping pattern and cropping intensity as well. And salinity is not more focused or more addressed in that study area from the respondents, because they are not concerned about it. But when I observed the data from different years, the salinity distribution, the southwest part and southeast part, I have seen that Noakhali is in very vulnerable situation, but has less attraction on this side for this research. And another thing is that Noakhali region is a very conservative region to the women. So I found the women has less access to talk, less access to resources, and less access to work. And I'm grateful to the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, that he has taken many initiatives to save the societies, for making the resilient community in the coastal belt areas, to apply the payment for ecosystem services. But what we have seen that still it's not sufficient. But in the relief sites, when the people of that area have cyclone, floods, still the people responded that government is giving the most support to them, though it's not enough or sufficient, and it depends on so many factors, and there are local political interference as well. And the water scarcity in that area is too much, and I think the women is also the most sufferer in that case. They need to spend a lot of time to collect the drinking water, and they're suffering the skin diseases and other diseases due to the unclean and saline water. And if we look back few research, that there are few research telling that due to the salinity, child mortality is happening, and the women are also suffering in pregnancy as well. So these are my common things, and I really thankful to Ms. Oishi that she has given a very nice presentation. When she was presenting, I feel that I am listening from something from my research, and I have found that from her research, migration, and the migration pattern in Noakhali is little bit different. Most of the time we think that people are coming to the mega city Dhaka for their survival as an adaptation options. But what I observed from that area, that they prefer to go to Chittagong areas, because the only things they know the agriculture. And Chittagong, when they go to Chittagong area, they can work in agriculture field as a agriculture labor or agriculture. They do the agriculture on the land, so they can apply their skills there. Sometimes they go to North Bengal as well to cut the crops, to harvest the crops. But due to the distance and cost, they prefer to go to Chittagong. So this is another point, that people prefers not only Dhaka, the other mega cities, second mega cities of Dhaka is Chittagong as well. So these are my observations. I am not sure it's helpful or not. And thank you so much for listening from me, and thank you so much again.
Thank you so much, Ms. Afsana, for your nice insights. So we have learned a lot from your research, and we're glad that you shared with us. So is there any other question? We can take another one, as we are almost running out of time.
Oishi, at this stage, I want to intervene. At first, I want to give thanks to Afsana for her research. And actually, we need many researchers, and we need some data from different levels so that we can take our plan and program accordingly. Actually, she was telling very nice about Noakhali. Actually, all the peoples are not coming to Dhaka from different geographical locations. She is very much right. Like when from Satkhira, people are coming to Jashore or Khulna also. And from different parts, as it is the capital in Dhaka, the pressure is always heavy. But this is true that from ancient times, the Noakhali people has trained to go to Chittagong for not only for climate, being victim of the climate change, but any other. They think it is nearer and they are teeth and kin, and their people are in Chittagong. So many people of Noakhali go to Chittagong for not only in this being affected by disaster, also for job. They have a train to prefer Chittagong also. And at the same time, I want to add, like any other coastal areas, the government is doing a lot of projects in Noakhali region also. And like other parts of the country, from the Finance of Climate Change Trust Fund, many projects have been taken in this region also. Obviously, this is a vulnerable area and we have a lot of things to do for the people of this area. One thing I want to add, so far we have in Bangladesh, through the afforestation of coastal lands in the chor areas, we have added 1,600 square kilometer of land with our mainland. So we have, but through this coastal afforestation in the chor lands, we have added some land with our mainland. This is for information. I think Afsana, it will also be good for your research, and I think previously you have got this information from our publications of the ministry and the forest department also. At the same time, just keeping aside this, I want to ask a question to Rezaur Rahman sir. Sir, if you permit me to ask a question.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Yes, please.
Okay, sir. Sir, I was a student of BUET actually. I have passed from the mechanical engineering department of BUET. And when I was a student, or after my student time, when I entered into the job, at that time I was also writing some write-ups on science and technology like this in the newspapers. And at that time, I have gone through in the papers that Bangladesh, around 17% of coastal land of Bangladesh will be inundated or go underwater like this. As it is some years back, at that time, in many areas, we did not have the embankments or polders. But after that, we have made some polders and embankments beside the road, beside the rivers and sea in the coastal belts of Chittagong and the Khulna also. But still, even now, we are reading that 17% of coastal land will go underwater. Actually, but how this is possible? There is no change in this percentage. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. This is an issue being discussed everywhere, because when 17% was quoted, it was quoted on the basis of just land elevation without considering the presence of the polders. But if we consider the polders, I think under the projected sea level rise, hardly any land will be inundated, especially with sedimentation and afforestation. So, but once it was quoted, and it was quoted by an authoritarian figure of our country, so it is being quoted even now. We do not actually, take back our words. I mean, that is the problem I face, that even when this is very positive signals, we still try to quote or refer to earlier estimates, which are no longer valid actually under the constitutional scenarios. So we should actually start quoting new research findings. Lots of researches are being done, and during last 5 years, during only last year, so many research publications on vulnerability of Bangladesh and adaptation. And these publications are all in very good journal with very good impact factors. From our institute, there are so many research papers and so many research articles that gives a signal that no, we are not that vulnerable. But we do not quote or refer to these studies, recent studies, rather we quote very old figures. So you are in the ministry, you are involved in policy making. So I shall request you to uptake this new information and take decisions, make policies based on the new decisions, research findings. Science-based decision making is the key words, as you know. So please feel free to use new research findings. Then I think our policy will be more relevant to face the future challenges.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. So we have a very fruitful discussion, I guess, that we have learned a lot of new things, because in general, when we have such conversations or workshops, we only have traditional talks. But I think this particular session was very much different from other discussions, because we have learned some new issues and some and very much positive views from all of the speakers as well as the attendees. So supporting to the statement by Dr. Reza Rahman, I'm also requesting Mr. Dhoitri Kumar Sarkar that being the focal of climate change, the Ministry of Environment and Environment, Forest and Climate Change can, I think they should play an important role to update the information, because we are seeing that previously we had some data which are now not valid. So I'm also requesting the ministry to take some initiative to update this data, and as they are the government authority, people have more faith in them. So when they are updating information and sharing with different stakeholders, it's more acceptable to all type of stakeholders. So I think it is a very good suggestion that came from Dr. Reza Rahman sir. And we are almost at the end of our session. So I would like to thank all of our panelists and our participants for joining us today and sharing their knowledge with us. It has been a really, really good discussion session. And finally, I would like to give floor to Mr. Dhoitri Kumar Sarkar, that what he thinks about our recommendation and what can be the role of the ministry in this regard.
Thank you very much. This was a very fruitful discussion and fruitful presentation from Oishi also. And after that, we discussed something. And from this, I also personally have obtained many things from the discussions today. And I think what Mahbubah Nasreen Madam and Reza Rahman sir was telling, and what I have got from the presentation of Zareen Tasnim Oishi, I have got a lot of messages and a lot of things we need to do. And at the same time, I also have obtained the opportunity to present or deliver it something what the government is doing for the climate change issues in Bangladesh, and what we are doing and what we need to do. We have learned from you all. So I think this enrichment within myself and the ministry, it will enhance our work in future in the next days. So I am very much grateful to all of you, and I am very much delighted for having this vibrant and jovial workshop or discussion today. Thank you all.